Before I tell you about the day I walked into my son's house, saw my grandkids sitting on the floor with paper plates, and made the decision to leave, I need to share something important first. If you've ever felt like you gave your all for your family, only to be treated like you didn't matter, or like your sacrifices were taken for granted, I want you to know this. Your worth has never diminished. You are the backbone of your family. You've held things together, given everything you had, and still, your love and effort deserve to be respected. If you've ever felt like your voice doesn't count anymore, like it's easier to stay quiet, I want you to know it's never too late to reclaim your peace, your dignity, and your voice. Before I dive into how I finally took a stand, I want to tell you about something that gave me strength during this time. It's a book called 38 Uplifting and Funny Short Stories for Seniors. It's full of heartwarming, easy-to-read stories that remind us we still have joy, laughter, and wisdom to share. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because what's coming next will show you that sometimes standing up for yourself is the most powerful thing you can do. I stand in the doorway of Stephen and Lily's home, frozen. The familiar warmth of their living room, with its soft lighting and the smell of food, doesn't feel welcoming anymore. It feels like a trap. I had been looking forward to this family dinner, a simple gathering, or at least that's what I thought. I'd been to their house countless times over the years, seen my grandkids running around, and shared meals with them all. But this time, something felt off. I just arrived after driving down from my place in Charleston. I'm 68 now, and my legs aren't what they used to be. But I was eager to see everyone, Stephen, Lily, the kids. It was supposed to be a nice evening. But as I step inside, I overhear Stephen's voice from the kitchen. "Let the kids eat first," he says, his tone casual, as though it's nothing. "Mason and Grace can wait for the leftovers." I freeze. It hits me like a slap in the face. My heart hammers in my chest, and my mind starts racing. Did I hear that right? My son, the boy I raised, the one I've done so much for, just told his own niece and nephew to wait for scraps. I take a step forward, my feet feeling heavier than usual. Slowly, I peek around the corner into the dining room. And there it is, my grandkids, Mason and Grace, sitting on the floor with paper plates. Cold sandwiches. No one bothered to cut them the way they like, just thrown together in a hurry. Meanwhile, Stephen's kids, Jared and Sophie, are sitting at the table, eating their lasagna with heaping portions. The good plates, the fancy ones that Lily pulls out for special occasions. I can see the steam rising from their food, and my heart sinks. I want to say something. I want to walk right in there and ask what on earth is going on, but I can't. I feel like I've been blindsided. My own family, the ones I've supported for years, the ones I financially helped, are treating my daughter's children like this. I've always known that Stephen and Lily's kids got the better of things, but this is too much. I turn my head back toward the kitchen, where I see Stephen sitting at the counter. His face is calm, as though this is just another typical family dinner. Lily stands by the stove, stirring something, unaware that I've just seen what I never wanted to see. The truth. I stay quiet. I don't know what to say. For a moment, I wonder if I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm imagining it, but the sadness on Mason and Grace's faces says otherwise. I watch them, sitting there so quietly, not even looking up, just staring down at their sandwiches. They're used to this. And then it hits me. I've been blind. I've been blind to what's really been happening for years. I've been giving and giving, always there to support, always stepping in to help, while my daughter's children have been pushed to the side. They've been treated as second-class citizens in their own family, and I've allowed it. I've made excuses, and now I see it for what it really is. My hands begin to shake. I want to confront Stephen, demand an explanation, but instead I take a deep breath and call out, "Stephen, Lily." They both turn toward me, and I can feel my face go red with the weight of what I'm about to say. but I can't hold it in any longer. What's going on here? Why are Mason and Grace eating sandwiches on the floor while your kids get the good plates? Stephen's face turns from calm to defensive. He quickly stands up, trying to act casual. Oh, Mom, it's not a big deal. The kids said they liked sandwiches. His voice is flat, dismissive, as if it's no big deal. Lily glances up, but she doesn't meet my eyes. It's just the way things are sometimes, she adds, brushing it off like it's nothing. My stomach churns. I feel the anger rise, but I keep it together. I can't let them see how hurt I am. I can't believe I've let this go on for so long. I look at Mason and Grace, my grandkids, still sitting there in silence, and it breaks something in me. I feel the tears start to well up in my eyes, but I force them back. This isn't about crying. This is about standing up for what's right. I can't stay here anymore. Not like this. I'm done. I turn on my heel, heading for the door, my heart pounding with each step. I tell Mason and Grace to grab their things. We're leaving. We won't be back until Stephen and Lily can explain what just happened. Stephen calls after me. Mom, don't be dramatic. It's not like that. But I don't stop. I can't. I can't be the one to keep pretending everything is okay when it's clearly not. I walk out of their house, Mason and Grace following behind me. And as the door closes behind us, I realize I've just taken a step I never thought I'd have to take. I've made a choice, and I don't know what will come next, but I know this. I'm no longer blind to what's been happening. And I can't let this continue. I drive back home with Mason and Grace, the silence in the car heavy and thick. My heart is still racing from what happened back at Stephen and Lily's house. I don't know if I'm angry, sad, or just confused. Maybe it's all of them at once. As I pull into my driveway, I look in the rearview mirror at my grandchildren sitting quietly in the back seat. Grace is holding her stuffed bunny close, eyes staring out the window. Mason is trying to keep busy with his phone, but I can see the weight of everything in the way he holds it. They're both too quiet, too used to this. I can't help but think back to how it all started. How things were always a little different when it came to Stephen's kids, Jared and Sophie. From the moment they were born, they always seemed to get the better of everything. It wasn't just the big stuff like vacations or birthday parties. No, it was the little things too. The little gestures that you don't notice until you realize they're happening over and over again. Stephen and Lily's house was always the best place to be. Their kids had the best toys, the newest games, the biggest bedrooms. Jared and Sophie got the good stuff, the things that you give your own children, and then some. Meanwhile, my daughter Lillian's kids, Mason and Grace, were often pushed to the side. Lillian worked so hard to make sure they didn't feel different, but I knew. I saw it. I just never said anything. I convinced myself it wasn't as bad as it seemed. I told myself that they'd be okay. After all, Stephen and Lily were my children too, right? I didn't want to cause trouble or make things awkward. But now, in that moment at the dinner table, everything changed. It hit me hard. Mason and Grace, sitting on the floor with paper plates, waiting for whatever was left over, while Stephen's kids ate first. It was like a slap to the face. I turn off the car and sit for a moment, staring out the window. The sun is starting to set, casting a golden light over the front yard. But inside, I feel like everything's turned upside down. How long has this been going on? I think to myself, how many times have I ignored the little things? I remember last summer when we all went to the beach. Stephen's kids had new bathing suits, fancy beach toys, everything they could want. Mason and Grace were just happy to be there, but they wore old hand-me-downs from when Lillian was younger. I didn't say anything. I didn't want to make a scene. I told myself it wasn't important. They were just kids, after all. But now, I can't ignore it anymore. Mason and Grace never complained, never said anything, but I could see it in their eyes. The way they would hang back when Jared and Sophie got new toys. The way they would offer to give them their own stuff just to make things feel more fair. And I remember the times they'd quietly sit down at the table knowing they wouldn't get as much of the good food, but never saying a word. They just sat there, quietly eating whatever they could get. When they'd go home, they'd always thank me for taking care of them, and I'd thank them right back. But inside, I knew there was something more to it. Something I wasn't seeing, or maybe something I didn't want to see. The unfairness that I let slide for so long, it's overwhelming now. And here I am, driving home with two grandchildren who, despite their quiet strength, have been pushed aside, treated like they're less than. The guilt washes over me. How could I have let this happen? How many times have I seen the signs and done nothing? I feel like a fool. But it's not just that. It's the way Stephen and Lily looked at me when I spoke up. Like I was being unreasonable. Like I was the one overreacting. They didn't see the problem, and they certainly didn't understand why it was a big deal to me. I know Stephen. He's always had a way of dismissing things. It's like he thinks he knows better. I've always let him take the lead in family matters, thinking that maybe I should just stay out of it. After all, he's my son. And Lily, well, she's always been the quiet one, letting Stephen make the calls. But the look in her eyes today, the way she just stood there, pretending nothing was wrong, it struck me. She didn't care. And that hurt more than anything else. I think about the times when I've tried to step in, when I've tried to make things right, even though I've been told I'm making too much of it. I tried to talk to Lily once about how it felt like Mason and Grace weren't being treated fairly, but she just nodded and changed the subject. And Stephen, he's always had a way of sweeping things under the rug, telling me I'm being dramatic. It's easier that way, I suppose. For them, at least. But not for me. Not anymore. I finally open the door and step out of the car, feeling the cool evening air hit me. Mason and Grace are already walking inside, heads down, not looking at me. I feel a twinge of sadness. They shouldn't feel like this. They shouldn't have to grow up thinking this is normal. But maybe, just maybe, it's time I stop pretending it is. I can't change what's happened in the past, but I can change the future. For them. For me. As I walk inside, I think about the words I'm going to say. The conversation I need to have with Stephen. I need to make it clear that I won't stand by and watch my family tear itself apart. Not anymore. I'm done being the quiet one in the background. Mason looks up at me, his eyes full of confusion. Grandma, are we going back to their house tomorrow? He asks, his voice small. I take a deep breath and look at him. No, sweetheart. We're not going back until things change, until we're treated right. He nods slowly like he understands, and for the first time in a long time, I feel like I've made the right decision. It's time for a change, and I'm ready for it. That night, after Mason and Grace have gone to bed, I sit alone in the living room, the quiet of the house wrapping around me. The light from the kitchen table lamp flickers in the corner of my eye, and I can't help but think back on all the years I've spent helping Stephen and Lily. I've always been there for them, always willing to lend a hand when things got tough. It started small, just a little loan here and there, covering a bill when they couldn't make ends meet. But over time, it became more, much more. They'd call me when they needed help with their mortgage, when their car broke down, or when they were behind on the house insurance. And every time, I would say yes. Every single time. I think back to the first time they asked me to co-sign for their house. They'd found a place they loved, a big house in the suburbs that would be perfect for their growing family. I remember Stephen's face when he asked. He looked so hopeful, like I was the one thing standing between them and their dream home. I didn't hesitate. Of course I would help. They were my son and daughter-in-law, and I wanted them to have the life they deserved. I signed the papers No questions asked. At the time, I didn't think much about it. It was family, after all. But now, looking back, I realize I should have thought about it more. I should have known that signing those papers would be the start of a never-ending cycle. Every time they were in a tight spot, they would come to me. Every time something went wrong, I was their go-to person. It wasn't just the house. There was the time they needed money for their car. Stephen's old truck had finally given out, and they didn't have the savings to replace it. "Mom, we just need a little help," Lily said. "It's just for a few months until we can get back on our feet." It wasn't just a little help, though. It was $3,000. $3,000 to replace a car they couldn't afford in the first place. And again, I didn't think twice. I wrote the check and handed it to Stephen, who promised me they'd pay me back. They never did. And then there were the bills. The utility bills that came every few months when they were short on cash. I was the one who always picked up the phone and called the electric company to make sure they didn't shut off the power. I was the one who helped with groceries when their pantry was empty, even though I was living on a fixed income myself. I've always believed that family takes care of each other. But somewhere along the way, I stopped realizing that I was the only one doing the taking care of. As I sit here in the quiet of my home, I feel the weight of it all. The resentment starts to build, but it's not just resentment toward Stephen and Lily. It's resentment toward myself. I've allowed this to happen. I've been enabling them, constantly bailing them out without ever questioning it. Every time they came to me, asking for money, asking for help, I gave it. But when it came time for them to show up for me, to show me the same love and support, they weren't there. Not when it counted. I realize now that it's not just about money. It's about emotional support too. I've been the one holding everything together, carrying the weight of their problems. But when I needed something from them, anything, they were always too busy or too caught up in their own lives to give me the time of day. And that's where the real hurt lies. I've spent my life putting my family first, thinking that if I just gave enough, did enough, I'd earn the love and respect I was missing. But instead, I just became the bank. The one they could always count on when things went wrong. And they never had to give anything back. Not emotionally, not physically, and certainly not financially. I've let myself be taken advantage of, and I've done it for so long that I can't even remember when it started. Maybe it was when Stephen was in college and I helped him pay his tuition. Or maybe it was when Lily needed extra help with the bills after their first child was born. But somewhere along the way, I lost track of where my help stopped being a gift and started becoming a crutch for them. And now I'm trapped in this cycle. Every time something goes wrong in their lives, I'm the first person they call. And I can't say no. Not because I don't want to, but because I'm scared of what will happen if I do. I'm scared of being called selfish. I'm scared of being left out. I'm scared that if I stop helping, they'll turn their backs on me. I've always been the one they could count on. The one who put everyone else's needs ahead of her own. But I'm starting to see that it's not just my money they've been taking. It's my dignity, my time, my love. And I can't keep letting them do it. I wish I could say this is the first time I've thought about stopping. But it's not. I've been thinking about it for months now, wondering when I'd finally reach my breaking point. Today might have been it. I can't help but think back to the moment I saw Stephen and Lily's kids eating the good food while my grandchildren ate scraps. That moment, those looks they gave me, told me everything I needed to know. I've spent so many years trying to do the right thing, trying to be the good mother, the good grandmother, the good person. But what has it really gotten me? A family that thinks I'll always be there to fix things. A family that doesn't even notice when I'm hurt. No more. I can't keep doing this. Not for them. Not for me. I get up from the couch and walk to my desk, opening the drawer where I keep my checkbook. I pull it out my hands shaking. It's time to make a decision. Time to take control. I can't be their safety net anymore. Not like this. The next morning, the weight of yesterday's events still lingers in my chest. I can't shake the image of Mason and Grace sitting quietly in the corner, waiting for scraps while Stephen's kids ate their fill. The unfairness of it all gnaws at me, and I know I can't let it go. I call Stephen's cell phone. The phone rings a few times before he picks up. His voice is bright, like nothing's wrong. Hey, Mom. What's up? Stephen. I begin, my voice steady but filled with frustration. We need to talk about yesterday. There's a pause on the other end. What about yesterday? He asks, like it's not the most obvious thing in the world. About how you treated Mason and Grace, I say, trying to keep my voice calm. And how you treated them differently than your own kids. For a moment, I hear nothing but silence. Then he sighs. Mom, it's really not that big of a deal. They're fine. It was just dinner. That's not the point, Stephen, I say, my voice rising without me meaning for it to. The point is you've always treated them like this. Mason and Grace never get the same attention, the same care, the same love as Jared and Sophie. And I've let it go for too long. He laughs a little, trying to brush it off. Come on, Mom. You're overreacting. We've always made sure they're taken care of. You're reading too much into this. I feel my blood start to boil. I've heard that line from him so many times over the years. Reading too much into it. I repeat, my voice sharp now. You've been ignoring it for years, Stephen. You think I don't see it? You think I haven't noticed how your kids always get the best of everything, and my grandkids get whatever is left? You think this is just about food? He pauses. It's not about favoritism. It's just that Jared and Sophie are our kids. It's different with them. You know that. I shake my head, my frustration building. No, Stephen, it's not different. They're all your kids. And the way you've treated them, your niece and nephew, it's hurtful. It's unfair. You've made them feel second-rate for years, and you've made me feel like I'm just supposed to accept it. Mom, he says, his tone softening, but not with understanding. You're making this more complicated than it needs to be. It's just how things are sometimes. I close my eyes for a second, trying to hold myself together. It feels like I'm talking to a wall. Every word I say is just being deflected, twisted into something smaller than it really is. The anger that I've been holding back is bubbling over, and I don't know how much longer I can keep it in. Then Lily enters the conversation, her voice cutting through the silence. Annie, calm down, she says almost casually. It was just a dinner. It's not that big of a deal. You're making a mountain out of a molehill. I can feel my temper flare. I've had enough. Lily, don't tell me to calm down. Don't you dare minimize this. You were there too. You saw what happened. You saw how Mason and Grace were treated like they didn't matter. And you did nothing. You didn't say a word. You just let it happen. She tries to laugh it off. Oh, Annie, you're just being dramatic. It's not like that. The kids didn't mind. They're fine. They're not fine, Lily. I say, my voice breaking now. They may not say anything, but I see it. They feel it. And that's what hurts the most. They don't feel like they belong. They don't feel like they're as important as Jared and Sophie. And it's not right. I can feel the weight of the moment in my chest. The hurt is too much now. I've always tried to make excuses for them, but now I can't. I can't keep doing it. The silence between us is thick. I can almost hear Stephen's discomfort through the phone. Finally, he speaks again, but this time his voice is quieter, more defensive. Mom, you're just overthinking all this. You've always been sensitive about these things. We don't treat them any differently. I stare at the phone in my hand. You do? I whisper, barely hearing my own voice. You always have. And I've let you get away with it for far too long. There's a long pause. And then Stephen sighs. I didn't mean to hurt anyone, Mom. No, I cut him off. You didn't mean to hurt anyone, but you did. And now it's time for me to stop pretending it's okay. You've treated my grandkids like they're not even part of the family. And I can't stand by and watch it happen anymore. I won't. I hear Stephen's breath hitch on the other end of the phone, but I don't let him speak. I'm done. I'm not coming back over there. Stephen, not until you and Lily can understand that this isn't about food or a dinner. This is about respect. This is about treating all your kids with love, not just the ones you've decided are your favorites. I hang up the phone before he can say anything else. My hands are shaking as I set it down on the counter. I don't know if what I just did was right or wrong, but for the first time in a long time, I feel like I've finally stood up for my grandkids. And for myself. I don't know what I expected when I hung up the phone, but it wasn't the relief I felt. I had just drawn a line in the sand with my own son and his wife, and yet somehow I felt lighter. I stood in my kitchen, staring at the phone in front of me, feeling like I had done something monumental, something I'd put off for far too long. Mason and Grace had been quiet all evening, both of them sitting on the couch, eyes glued to their phones. I knew they were still processing everything that happened earlier, and to be honest, so was I. I had no idea how things would play out, but there was a part of me that knew I couldn't go back. Not this time. I turned to them, my heart heavy, with both sadness and determination. Come on, kids, I said, my voice firm but gentle. We're leaving. Mason looked up from his phone first, his brow furrowed. Where are we going, Grandma? We're going home, sweetheart. No more staying at Stephen and Lily's. Not until things change. Grace, always the more perceptive of the two, didn't ask any questions. She simply nodded and stood up, walking over to grab her backpack. Mason followed her, without saying another word. It was like they understood, like they'd known this moment was coming, even if I hadn't. I grabbed my purse and jacket, feeling the weight of the decision settle over me. This wasn't just about leaving a dinner table. This wasn't just about a moment of unfairness. This was years of letting things slide, years of being pushed aside for Stephen's family, while my daughter's children had to accept scraps. Years of me playing the role of the family fixer, always there to smooth things over, always there to pick up the pieces. But not anymore. I glanced back at the house as I locked the door behind me, the old, familiar house that had always felt like home, but now felt like a prison. I had been trapped in a cycle I didn't even realize I was a part of. Every time I bailed them out, every time I made excuses for their behavior, I was enabling them. I was enabling the division in my family. I was letting the favoritism go unchecked, and I was allowing myself to be taken advantage of. But I wasn't doing that anymore. As I got in the car and started the engine, I glanced in the rearview mirror. Mason and Grace were in the back seat, sitting in silence, and for a moment, I saw the same uncertainty in their faces that I'd been carrying for years. The uncertainty that comes when you're not sure if you belong. The uncertainty that comes from being treated like an afterthought, like a second choice. And I realized that's exactly what Stephen and Lily had been doing to them all these years. But I couldn't let them feel that way anymore. We drove in silence for a while. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know if I had the words to explain why I had made the decision to leave. They'd been quiet during the drive, each lost in their own thoughts, and I couldn't help but wonder what was going through their minds. Grandma? Mason said softly, breaking the silence. Are we never going back? I glanced at him in the rearview mirror. His eyes were wide with concern, and I could see the uncertainty written all over his face. I don't know, sweetie, I said, not until things change. But why? I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words. Because you and Grace deserve better. You deserve to be treated the same as everyone else, not like you're less important. There was a pause before Grace spoke up, her voice quiet but strong. Is it because of dinner? I nodded, but I knew that wasn't the only reason. It's not just about the food, sweetie. It's about fairness, about being treated with respect. Mason didn't say anything else, but I could tell he understood. Grace, on the other hand, seemed to take it all in, processing everything in her own way. When we got home, I helped them grab their things and settled them into the living room. It was quiet again. My mind was racing with everything that had just happened. I didn't know how to feel. Part of me wanted to call Stephen and apologize, but I knew I couldn't. Not this time. Not after everything I had just seen. Not after all the years of letting their behavior slide. This was my breaking point, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I had finally taken control. I walked into the kitchen and sat down at the table, trying to gather my thoughts. The phone was still on the counter, and I stared at it for a long moment, wondering if I should call Stephen. But I knew what I had to do. I had to let him figure this out on his own. I had to stop being the one who always bailed him out, who always took care of the problems he didn't want to deal with. The phone rang, and I flinched. I stared at it for a moment before picking it up. It was Stephen. "Mom," he said, his voice soft, almost apologetic. "I don't know what to say, but I'm sorry for what happened yesterday. I didn't mean for things to go like that. I don't know, I didn't think about it the way you do." I sat silently for a moment, trying to decide what to say. I didn't want to snap at him, but I knew I had to stand my ground. "Stephen, it's not just about yesterday. It's about years of treating my grandkids like they're second class. Years of letting your kids have the best of everything while mine sit in the corner with nothing. I can't let that go anymore." He didn't say anything for a while. I could hear the hesitation in his breath, like he didn't know how to respond. "I'm sorry," he said again, "but we don't treat them that way. You're reading too much into it." "No, Stephen," I said, feeling my voice firm up. "I'm done reading into it. I've seen it, and I'm not going to let it happen anymore. Not to them. Not to me." I hung up the phone, feeling a mix of relief and sadness. I knew this wasn't the end of the story, but it was the start of something new, a new chapter where I finally took a stand for my grandkids and myself. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like I had done the right thing. The drive home was quiet. The streets in front of my house were familiar, but everything felt different. The house, which once felt like a safe haven, now felt empty, even though Mason and Grace were in the back seat, their quiet presence filling the space. I couldn't shake the weight of the decision I'd made. My mind kept racing, turning over the words Stephen and I had exchanged, the look on his face when I walked out of his house. I could still hear the hurt in his voice as I left, but I couldn't go back. Not this time. I parked the car in the driveway, the crunch of the gravel beneath the tires echoing in the stillness of the evening. I sat there for a few moments, staring at the house in front of me. Mason was the first to speak, his voice tentative, as though he was trying to make sense of the situation. "Grandma, are we really not going to see them again?" I didn't answer right away. How could I explain to him that, yes, I had just walked away from my son and his family, that I had made a choice that could tear us apart forever? "Mason," I said, my voice soft but steady, "I don't know what's going to happen, but what I do know is that you and Grace deserve better. You deserve to be treated with respect, the same as everyone else. And until that happens, I can't keep pretending everything's okay." He didn't say anything else, but I could see the understanding in his eyes. Grace, sitting next to him, was quiet as well. I could tell she was processing everything, just like me. As I walked into the house, I couldn't help but replay the conversation with Stephen in my mind. The way he had shrugged it off, dismissed it as no big deal. The way Lily stood by, silent. They didn't get it. They never really did. And for years, I had let them manipulate me, let them use me as a safety net whenever things went wrong. But now, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I couldn't keep being the one who always cleaned up their messes. I sat down at the kitchen table, the same table I'd sat at so many times before, but it felt different now. The weight of my decision was sinking in, and I wasn't sure if it was relief or regret that I was feeling. I hadn't just walked away from a dinner. I had walked away from years of being used, of enabling behavior that wasn't fair to me or to my grandkids. But as much as it hurt, I knew it was the right thing to do. The phone rang, pulling me out of my thoughts. I glanced at the screen and saw Stephen's name. I stared at the phone for a moment, feeling the pull to pick it up, to hear his voice, maybe apologize, maybe explain myself. But then I realized, no, I wasn't going to fall back into that pattern. I wasn't going to let him manipulate me again. I let the phone ring until it stopped. The voicemail icon popped up, but I didn't listen to it. I didn't need to hear what he had to say. I knew what it would be: apologies, excuses, a promise to make things right. But the truth was, I couldn't keep allowing him to make promises he couldn't, or wouldn't, keep. I stared at the phone for a moment longer, almost tempted to call him back, but I pushed the thought aside. It was done. I had made my decision, and it was time to stick to it. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I was in control of my own life. It was terrifying, but it was also freeing. I stood up and walked into the living room, where Mason and Grace were sitting quietly. I could see the uncertainty in their eyes, but I could also see something else: hope. They had been through so much already, and I wasn't going to let them go through any more. I wasn't going to let them be treated like second-class citizens in their own family anymore. I sat down next to them, trying to reassure them with my presence, even if I didn't have all the answers. "We'll be okay," I said softly. "We'll figure this out. We're a family, and we don't need anyone else to make us whole." Mason nodded, though I could see the sadness still hanging around him. "Do you think they'll change, Grandma?" I paused for a moment, considering his question. I didn't know, but I knew that change had to start somewhere. And if I didn't make a stand now, nothing would ever change. "I don't know, Mason," I said finally, my voice quiet but sure. "But I'm done waiting for them to change. It's time for us to take care of each other. And that's what we're going to do." The conversation ended there, and the house fell into a comfortable silence. For the first time in a long time, it felt like a real home. Not because it was perfect, but because it was ours. Just the three of us, no one else's expectations, no one else's manipulation. As I sat there, I reflected on the years I'd spent enabling Stephen's behavior. How many times had I bailed him out? How many times had I made excuses for him and Lily? They were my children, and I loved them, but I had been blinded by that love. I had let them take advantage of me. And worse, I had allowed them to treat my grandchildren as less than. I felt angry, not just at them, but at myself for letting it go on for so long. I knew it was time to stop. Time to stop being the one who always picked up the pieces. Time to stop enabling them and start setting boundaries. And that's exactly what I was going to do. The phone rang again, and I glanced at the screen. "Stephen." I let it ring again, my hand steady as I made the decision not to pick up. For the first time, I felt like I had control. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't perfect, but it was mine. And that felt like enough. It's been hours since I made the decision to leave Stephen and Lily's house, but the anger inside me hasn't faded. I've spent the time pacing around the house, sitting in silence, thinking about everything. about the years I've spent helping them, about Mason and Grace being treated like they didn't belong, about how much I've let slide. I can't keep doing this. Not anymore. The guilt is there, heavy on my chest. I feel like I've just thrown away everything I've worked for, the relationship I've had with my son, my place in their family. But then I think of Mason and Grace, their quiet faces as they sat in that corner, eating their scraps. And I know I've done the right thing. I can't let them grow up believing that this is how families treat each other. I can't let them think it's okay to be treated like second-class citizens just because their mom is my daughter. I sit down at my desk, the weight of what I'm about to do sinking in. For a moment, I stare at the blank page in front of me. I don't even know where to begin. What do you say to your son when you're about to change everything between you? When you're about to draw a line in the sand that can't be crossed? But then it hits me. This isn't just about a dinner. This is about the years of financial support I've given them. It's about the money I've lent, the bills I've paid, the loans I've co-signed. It's about how I've been used without any respect, without any real appreciation. I've been their safety net for too long, but it's clear now this isn't just about money. It's about respect. And they've shown me none. I grab the pen and start writing. Dear Stephen and Lily, I've been doing a lot of thinking since our last conversation, and I've come to a very hard decision. I've always tried to be there for you, for both of you and for my grandchildren. I've helped when I could, I've given what I could, and I've always supported you both in whatever way I could. But I've come to realize that I've allowed myself to be taken advantage of for far too long. For years, I've let you both use me financially without truly understanding how it affects me. I've co-signed loans, paid bills, helped with your home, and yet I've been treated as though my efforts don't matter. I've watched as my grandkids, Mason and Grace, were treated like they didn't matter, pushed aside while your children got the best of everything. And I can't ignore it any longer. This isn't just about a dinner. It's about how you've treated my daughter's children. It's about how you've used my financial support without ever truly considering what I've given. And it's about how I've let you both use me without ever standing up for myself or my grandkids. So here it is, Stephen. I'm giving you 6 months to refinance your home and remove my name from the mortgage. If you don't take care of this, I will have no choice but to cut all financial ties with you, permanently. This is not a threat. This is a boundary. I can't keep doing this. I can't keep being used. I've done everything I can to support you both. But now, it's time for you to stand on your own 2 feet. It's time for you to take responsibility for your own life, your own finances, and your own family. I don't want to do this, Stephen. But I can't keep enabling this behavior any longer. I've let you use me for too long. I've been afraid to set boundaries, afraid of losing you, afraid of what it would do to our family. But I've realized that the longer I stay quiet, the longer I let you both walk all over me, the more I lose myself. So I'm doing this for me. And I'm doing this for Mason and Grace. They deserve better. They deserve to know that they matter, that they are as important as everyone else. Please understand that this is not easy for me, but it's something I have to do. Sincerely, Annie. I put the pen down, feeling the weight of the letter in my hands. It's final. It's a decision that can't be taken back. But as I sit there, reading the words over and over again, I feel a sense of peace. It's hard, yes. It's painful, yes. But I know it's the right thing to do. For me, for Mason and Grace, for my own peace of mind. The phone rings. I don't even look at the caller ID. I know who it is. It's Stephen, no doubt. I could pick up, I could apologize, I could soften it. But I don't. I'm done with excuses. Done with the guilt. I let it ring until it goes to voicemail. Then I turn the phone off. I don't want to hear it. The truth is, I don't know what will happen next. I don't know if Stephen will take this seriously, or if he'll just brush it off like everything else. But I do know this. I can't keep living like this. I can't keep pretending that everything is okay when it's not. And I can't keep being used for my money and my time, only to be treated like I don't matter. I sit back in the chair, the reality of my decision hitting me. It feels like I've been holding my breath for years, waiting for something to change, waiting for Stephen to finally see how much I've given. But this time, I'm the one who's making the change. And maybe, just maybe, that's the first step toward a better future for all of us. The phone rings again. I don't pick up. Weeks pass, but it feels like years. I haven't heard from Stephen since I sent the letter. At first, I thought maybe I'd hear an apology or some sort of acknowledgement that what happened was wrong. But as the days go by, I start to realize that this is the new normal. The phone doesn't ring. No messages, no calls. And strangely, it feels like a weight lifting off my chest. I don't pick up the phone when it rings anymore. Not unless it's Lillian. I can't keep going back to Stephen and Lily, letting them guilt trip me into fixing things. I've given them everything, money, time, my patience, but I've always come last. This time, I stand firm. The silence in the house is different now. It's quieter, sure, but it's also peaceful. Mason and Grace are thriving. They've started to come out of their shells, something I haven't seen in a long time. When we have dinner now, they sit at the table with me, eating the same food as everyone else. They don't have to wait for scraps anymore. I've noticed little changes, small victories. Grace is finally talking about her school projects with excitement. Mason, who used to stay quiet in the corner, now helps me bake cookies on weekends, laughing and joking as he stirs the batter. The tension that used to hang over our house is gone. For the first time in a long time, we're just living. And me, I've started finding joy in the little things. I've gone back to reading my books in the evenings, sipping my tea while watching the sunset from the porch. I spend my afternoons in the garden planting flowers that Mason and Grace help me tend to. I've even started going for walks in the mornings again, taking in the fresh air and the calm of the neighborhood. It's like I've finally given myself permission to live. It wasn't an easy decision, but I know I made the right one. The family dynamic has shifted. It won't ever be the same. And maybe that's for the best. I don't have to keep pretending that everything's okay when it's not. And I don't have to keep sacrificing my own peace for the sake of others. Stephen and Lily continue to reach out, but each time I remain firm. I don't answer their calls, and I don't return their messages. I won't be manipulated anymore. If they want to make things right, they'll have to take the first step. But until then, I won't be the one to bend. There are days when I feel a twinge of guilt. I wonder if I've gone too far, if I should have tried harder to fix things. But then I see Mason and Grace, so full of life, so much more confident than they were before. I see the peace in their eyes, the sense of belonging that they've finally found. And I know that what I did was necessary. It was hard, but it was right. In a way, I've found the peace I'd been searching for all these years. I've stopped living for everyone else. I'm living for me and for my grandkids. I no longer feel like I'm just here to fix other people's problems. I've finally set the boundary that I needed. I may have lost some family connections along the way, but I've gained something far more valuable, my independence, my peace, and the respect I deserve. As I sit in my chair on the porch, the sun dipping below the horizon, I realize that this is my new beginning. It's not perfect and it won't be easy. There will always be moments of doubt, moments when I wonder if I did the right thing. But right now, I'm content. I'm at peace. I'm ready for what comes next. What would you do if you had to choose between keeping the peace with your family and protecting your own well-being? Don't forget to download this wonderful book called 38 Uplifting and Funny Short Stories for Seniors. easy-to-read tales that bring laughter, memories, and mental stimulation. It's full of heartwarming, simple stories written to bring a smile, stir up memories, and remind us that joy doesn't fade with age. It grows stronger. You'll find it in the pinned comment below. Now, if you like the story, go ahead and click on the next video appearing on your screen, because in it is a story of betrayal and revolt like you've never seen before on Her Kindle Stories.